Heroes and villains, or better put, protagonists and antagonists, are key figures in literature, especially fiction and storytelling. But what are heroes and villains? What makes them good? What makes them good at being bad? Hi, I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and this month in Creator's Corner, we are examining how to write well-crafted heroes and villains. Happy Saturday, everybody. How's everyone doing? I'm pretty decent myself. I'm excited to share today's video, which is the last in my series on character development. But before I get any further, let me tell you about Author Awareness August. This year is a little different. I'm still doing a month-long marathon of author interviews, but we only get 4 interviews this year instead of the usual 5 because of the number of Saturdays in August. I'll be providing more info as we get closer to the event, including author details about who I'm interviewing and promoting. But just remember to keep it on your radar. You know what? It sucks to lose someone you love. When they pass away, it leaves this hole in your life and you don't know what else to do with it. How can you honor the life of someone who means so much to you? Hi, I'm your host, podcaster Garrett K. Jones. Join me as I honor the passing of my grandmother, a wonderful woman who witnessed a lot of history and instilled a lot of love and faith in my life. Welcome to Season 4, Storytellers. Okay, so we're closing out our discussion on character development. And right off the bat, I want to talk about heroes and protagonists. Now, the lens through which I'm looking is more from an adventurous storytelling motif, similar to action thrillers, fantasy, sci-fi, and the like, where you typically have some form of protagonist character. Every story needs one because they're one of the main characters, if not the character, the readers are going to follow. But before we can talk about different types of heroes, we need to look at the characteristics inherent in our heroes. So this list comes from verywellmind.com, and the link can be found down in the video description. First up, we need to look at the definition of what a hero is. Heroes are defined by voluntarily serving the needs of others, either individually or in a group. They act without expectation of any kind of reward or payment, and they recognize and accept the risks and sacrifices required of them over the course of the story. It's in these behaviors that we see heroic characteristics. They are brave and courageous. They have a conviction for what they do. They are determined. They are helpful, honest, inspirational. They have moral integrity, protective, they're self-sacrificing, selfless, and strong. And the strength can be physical, mental, emotional, or some combination of the three. Not every hero has all of these qualities, but they will exhibit some of them. Heroes have concern for the well-being of others. They understand differing perspectives. They have useful skills and strengths that usually work in tandem with others. They have a strong moral compass, or at least they develop one. They're competent and confident, though not always, and they feel fear but aren't afraid to face that fear. And this is where the different heroic archetypes come into play. According to nybookeditors.com, there are 6 major archetypes that heroes take on. Keep in mind this isn't a definitive list, and it's entirely possible for some characters to change from one archetype to another over the course of the story or even a series at large. Archetype number 1 is the willing hero. The examples given are Nancy Drew and James Bond. This character runs towards danger when everyone runs from it. They're motivated by the obstacles they face and enjoy a challenge while being noticed for their bravery, and to some extent, an ability to think on their feet. The second hero archetype is the polar opposite, the unwilling hero. This hero is exemplified in characters like Frodo Baggins or even his uncle Bilbo. This character's reluctance is part of their motivations. There's also doubt, trepidation, and a wish or hope that someone else, anyone else, could take up the responsibility. However, there is a clear understanding only they are capable of completing the task, quest, or mission. If you place this character through the hero's journey, this character resists, wanting to go back to normal rather than crossing the veil into the unknown. The third archetype we're focusing on is the tragic hero, such as Oedipus and Brutus. In many cases, especially when it comes to Greek tragedies, the characters are deeply flawed. The flaw ultimately leads to the character's downfall. Readers feel pity for this character because their life choices lead to a downward spiral of self-destruction. It's an error in judgment rather than immorality or corruption. They are more of a device within the story and not necessarily a true character, although you can use this archetype as part of a character arc. My favorite example is Darth Vader, because he starts off as a competent and confident hero and makes a series of bad choices that ultimately lead to his downfall to the dark side and becoming a Sith Lord capable of killing all of the Jedi.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
The fourth archetype is the classical hero like Wonder Woman or King Arthur. They are almost impossibly perfect. They're courageous and eager to protect others at risk to themselves, even if they are nigh invincible. Superman! Excuse me. They have a strong moral code of ethics guiding them even though some of the story tests their resolve and offers inner conflict. The character benefits from divine heritage or supernatural powers. Superman! Excuse me. These characters are often difficult to relate to because they seemingly don't have any flaws. Heroic archetype number 5 is the epic hero like Beowulf or Odysseus. This is a character who becomes an embodiment for their entire culture and value system because the story that they inhabit is larger than they are. They start off as something ordinary and, as seen in the hero's journey, become something greater and more magnificent. Ironically enough, many stories incorporate elements of the classical, the willing, the epic, and the tragic heroes. The last heroic archetype is the anti-hero. A notable example is Sterling Archer or Deadpool. Both are characters who don't want to be heroic and nothing about them screams hero. By all accounts, these are characters who are incredibly flawed, selfish, and usually do horrible things, often to bad people or to protect the innocent, because they have a heart of gold. There needs to be an emotional attachment for the reader to get invested in this type of character. They aren't usually likable. This is the character who is in it for themselves and may even have narcissistic tendencies.
Before going any further with the video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications on new videos. You can select notifications for all videos, or you can select notifications based on your preferences. If you're watching on your phone, be sure to update those settings inside the app itself to get the most out of your viewing experience.
Now it's time to turn our attentions to villains and antagonists. These are characters that work as foils for the protagonist. More often than not, they look like a mirror of the hero. Take Batman and the Joker. Usually in the comics and classic literature, the hero wears the bright, garish colors and the villain wears the dark colors. But Bob Kane flipped the script on this one, and it's kind of cool because it's Batman who operates in the shadows, wearing a monochromatic color scheme for stealth and for camouflage, while the Joker is a clown, usually a symbol of frivolity and innocence. Villains need to be convincing when you write them. You don't want them to come off as campy and unbelievable. They need to present a real threat. Your villains must have motivations that are easy for readers to understand, and they need to be relatable in a way that makes the villain vulnerable or tragic. While the villain is the bad guy, they may not necessarily be doing bad things. In fact, they often see themselves as the heroes of their own stories. Villains can take a physical form or become something intangible and abstract, like the nothing from the never-ending story. The best villains are entertaining and are characters the readers love to hate. And just like the hero, giving the villain their own twisted moral code makes them real. It doesn't even have to be a matter of good versus evil, but maybe the right and wrong way to serve the same goal, like in the events of the movie Crimson Tide, where the sub-captain, played by Gene Hackman, is at odds with his XO, played by Denzel Washington, over incomplete orders due to a tactical nuclear strike after their communications get knocked out. That said, here are the 5 main types of villains that can be incorporated into a story. First is the morally gray villain. This might be a dirty cop trying to cover up their illegal behaviors to protect their job and their reputation. They do too much bad to be considered good, but they also do too much good to be truly considered a villain, at least until they cross a point of no return and just go right into the skid. The second is the sympathetic villain. This is Joaquin Phoenix's interpretation of the Joker. This is a character who is a bad person, but their backstory and character arc make you feel sympathetic towards them. Then again, you have the anti-hero. Like I said before, anti-heroes are in it for themselves and will stop at pretty much nothing to do whatever it is that they want to do. Deadpool is a really great example on this because while he has worked on heroic team-ups in the past, there's an entire comic run called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe for a reason. And while he comes off as an idiot, he does it in a way that's aloof and disarming because then his enemies underestimate what he'll do next. Fourth is the anti-villain. This seems like just another name for the protagonist or the hero, and, you know, to be fair, it kind of is, but this is a character doing bad things to achieve a goal that they believe is good. My prime example here is John Wick. Yeah, he's a total badass protagonist, but if you look at it from the Russian mob's perspective, or even that of the high tables, they're all horrible people counting their days while Baba Yaga hunts them down. Finally, villains doing bad things for the sake of being bad. There's no complexity here. There's no real motivation why they do whatever it is that they're going to do. They're just awful because reasons. This is Dr. Claw, Cobra Commander, and Dr. Evil. They have grandiose ideas for holding the world hostage for ridiculous sums of money with no true endgame in sight, and it's honestly just plain annoying. In fact, this kind of villain is on the list of things not to do unless you're trying to make them purposely funny. And here's another not to do. Don't make them a bumbling idiot. If you do, they're ineffective and pose no real danger. Sure, Joffrey Baratheon was a total tool. He was arrogant, careless, and sadistic, but he wasn't a complete buffoon, and that's what made him a good villain. Make sure your villains are intelligent and calculating. Make them share some of the hero's traits or ideals. Make them merciless to everybody, but juxtapose that malice with genuine kindness. Make them persuasive and charismatic. Make them convicted but flawed as they oppose their respective heroes. Glad you made it to the end of the video. Please make sure to like and share it because that is how this channel is going to be able to grow its viewership. If you're able to do so, consider becoming a channel supporter over at patreon.com/gkjpublishing, where you'll have your choice of one of 4 support tiers. Each tier comes with monthly access to a bloopers reel from when I record my vlogs, sweet tier level perks, and you'll receive recognition in the last video of each month. Check out the merch store at teespring.com/members/GKJpublishing, where you can find comfy clothing, hats, phone cases, a mug, and posters. Buy the merch, snap a pic, and post it to social media with the hashtag 5kingdomsmerch, and I'll feature it in a video. Speaking of posters, don't forget to sign up for the free poster giveaway. When I hit 200 YouTube subscribers, I'll announce the winner. I'll see you guys back here next week for the April edition of Forming Fantasy, where I will be talking about the Citadel and the Council of Seven from my 4th book, Hadrian Corvus of Farfell. Thanks for watching.
The vlog of the 5 Kingdoms is filmed without the use of a live audience at Skyrocket Studios in Hanford, California. We can't do what we do without your help, so please make sure to subscribe by clicking the button that's above my head, and make sure to watch and share the videos over here to my left. Have a great week.